Good day, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. The New York City mayoral candidates make a final push ahead of Election Day. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP update, the Trump administration will only pay 50% of the food stamp benefits in November amid the shutdown. OpenAI and Amazon strike a $38 billion deal of cloud services, sending Amazon stock to record highs. 2 U.S. citizens arrested in an alleged ISIS-inspired Halloween plot in Michigan. And that was that plot that the FBI was stating. Then they're now revealing a lot of information because they wanted to know, were there any other co-conspirators that supported this attack? So big city mayor races, they don't just pick a city leader, they set the tone for national politics, especially with a large city with so many people like New York, for racial justice, for local power. Seeing how candidates make their final move gives insight into building momentum and who's being left behind, because Zohani Badawi, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, is the front runner right now to be the next New York City mayor. And if you look at all the candidates that is essentially running from him, they're not even close. I mean, you have Como, who's more than 10% behind Silva. You don't even see this guy in the rankings, but they are predicting that Badawi will win the New York City mayor race. And today they're voting, actually right now. It's probably around 9 or 10 o'clock in New York City a.m. So again, he's the projected winner, and it's not even close. And my question is, now everyone knows that Zohani is a Muslim. Okay, everyone knows his religion, but that's not stopping them from voting for him, even though we have somehow radicalized the notion that Muslims are emphatically terrorists, which is absolutely not true. Muslims are some of the most peaceful people, just as well as Christians, Hindu, Buddhists. It don't matter your religious faction. They're always radicals in each and every group, just like we have Christian nationalists who are also, in some regards, not all, but in some regards, are neo-Nazis. They are part of the white supremacies, juncture within America. So again, each and every religion have their radicalization terrorists. Okay, they have people who are radicals, who are willing to go the extra step and unalive people based upon their belief and know what they believe is the right thing to do. So again, I just want to point that out, because people are like, well, how could this occur? How could we allow this to happen? Again, America is not a Christian nation, and that's again from the First Amendment that the founding fathers put into place, their freedom of religion. I digress. Now, why is Zohani, and I'm again probably butchering his name, I do apologize, Zohani or Zoran Badawi, okay, why is he the top runner? Why is he the front runner, so to speak? And everybody, if you're not familiar with the New York race that's been going on, Mayor Adams dropped out a long time ago. He had no chance in hell to be the next, to have another term as mayor in New York City. I want to show you guys some of his campaign promises. Now, this is going to be, President Trump is stating that this is a dictatorship. He's a communist, but no, he's a socialist. He's a socialist. And I just want to point out a couple of key things that he's willing to do for the citizens of New York City. And if you ever lived in New York, if you ever been in New York is very, very expensive, just as well as California. And New York is congested. The public transportation is slow. Rent is very expensive, like California. California and New York, they're basically the same coin, two different sides, one on the East Coast, one on West Coast. I digress. It states here that a majority of New Yorkers are tenants, and more than 2 million of them live in rent-stabilized apartments. These homes should be the bedrock of economic security for the city's working class. Instead, Eric Adams have taken out every opportunity to squeeze tenants with his hand-picked appointees to the Rent Guidelines Board, jacking up rents on stabilized apartments by 12.6%. Again, he had the receipts to actually prove this. So this is why, again, Mayor Adams dropped out a long time ago, because it was proven that he was involved and some low-level corruption, okay, to the point where it stayed local there in New York City. Also, fast fare free buses. Okay, Madonna, we stated that New York's first fare-free bus pilot on 5 lines across the city. Now, as mayor, he'll permanently eliminate the fare on every city bus and make them faster by rapidly building priority lanes, expanding bus queue, jump signals, and dedicated to loading zones to keep double parkers out of the way. Okay, so he's trying to revolutionize New York City's public transit when it comes to buses. First and foremost, he's going to make a dedicated priority lane, so you're going to have expedited travel using public transportation. And then the second most mind-blowing thing that he's going to do is make it all free. Now, the only question in the capitalist society, even though you may be a socialist, is how are you going to make public transportation free if you don't raise taxes? How are you going to stabilize rent if you don't raise taxes? So the money has to come from somewhere, or New York City, hand over fist, is going to be in a massive amount of debt. I don't see how you don't raise taxes unless there's just some sludge funds out there that have billions of dollars in. I don't know how he's going to do this because, again, are you going to raise taxes in order to make the bus free? Are you going to raise taxes in order to stabilize rents? Again, we'll see how that turns out if he wins. The Department of Community Safety. Zohan said, we'll create the Department of Community Safety to prevent violence before it happens by prioritizing solutions which have been consistently shown to improve safety. Police have a critical role to play, but right now we're relying on them to deal with the failures of our social safety net. So again, he is dialing back and he's going to support the police to ensure he has a safe city. I agree. No cost childcare. New Yorkers with children under 6 are leaving at double the rate of all others. The burden falls heaviest on mothers who are giving up paying jobs to do unpaid childcare. No cost childcare. I mean, he's literally socializing the entire city of New York. That's going to have a lot of people to flock to New York. And it's going to even be more congested, more overcrowded than it already is. Just think about that. If you are pregnant, planning to have a child, why not move to New York short term? If he's going to stabilize rent, subsidies, socialized. If he's going to have no cost childcare for children under 6, subsidy, socialized. So again, Zahani will implement free childcare for every New Yorker aged 6 weeks to 5 years, ensuring high quality programming for all families, and he will bring up wages for childcare workers. So he's going to raise wages as well. A quarter of whom currently live in poverty to be a partial with public school teacher. It will foster early childhood development, save parents money, and keep our families in the city they call home. Again, these are a lot of bold claims. These are a lot of bold claims. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just shocked that he's a front runner and no one's screaming about capitalism. How we're going to pay for this? I see people are looking for the subsidies and benefits of socialism. And I'm not essentially against it. Again, New York is a very expensive city. I believe there's some way that he can release pressure by doing all of this. I just don't know how things are going to get paid. Maybe there's a finance plan in place that he's not yet made public, because the one question that most people are going to have is, how are you going to pay for all of this? City-owned grocery stores. That means that he's going to control the prices of groceries, okay? Again, this is expanding government on a very large scale. As mayor, Zahani will create a network of city-owned grocery stores focused on keeping prices low, not making a profit. Without having to pay rent or property taxes, they will reduce overhead and pass on savings to shoppers. They will buy and sell at wholesale prices, centralize warehousing and distribution, and partner with local neighborhoods on products and sourcings. With New York City already spending millions of dollars to subsidize private grocery store operators, which are not even required to take SNAP or WIC, We should redirect public money to a real public option. Now, that one really had me just in my thoughts a little bit, because you're not going to make a profit, okay? You're going to keep prices very low and you're not going to make a profit. Now, the people who work there, I'm pretty sure that's going to be an accumulative aggregate amount that's going to be part of this grocery store, the generation of power, products, shelving, shelf life of products. There are so many things that go into a grocery store that the reason why some groceries increase in price over time is to pay for their shelf life, because any product on a shelf, they have to pay for that space. Okay, they're moving product, and if that product don't move, that's when you see all of these products. It don't matter where you are. You go to Food Line, Kroger, HEB, Albertson, Safeway, Giant, Piggly Wiggly. It don't matter where you go around the United States of America. They're paying for that shelf price. And if the amount of products that they are shipping to that store don't move in a predicted amount of time, they have to cut their prices low, discounts. The same thing with the city ran grocery shops. I'm just trying to figure out, the city is going to pay for the electricity. The city is going to pay for the water. The city is going to be paying the people that work there, because again, you're not making a profit. So you must be only charging the products of the organizations that produce those products. You're going to heighten the price for them to have shelf life in that particular grocery store. Again, I'm just trying to figure out how they're going to pay for it, because the one most staggering thing here is that a lot of the private grocery store operators did not take SNAP or WIC, but the city grocery shop will. Okay, I don't want to beat the drum on that way too long. It's very interesting that he's a front runner and no one's asking the question how these things are getting paid. And maybe he already released it. I just haven't seen it. Housing by and for New York. We need a lot more affordable housing, but for decades, New York City has relied almost entirely on changing the zoning code to entice private development, with results that can fall short of the big promises. He goes on to state that as mayor, we'll put on public dollars to work and triple the city's production of permanently affordable, union-built, rent-stabilized homes, constructing 200,000 new units over the next 10 years. Any 100 affordable development gets fast-tracked. No more pointless delays, and Zoharni will fully staff our city's housing agency so we can actually get the work done. Okay, that's great. People will be able to afford homes in New York. I'm pretty sure that these homes will not be big. I don't see these homes being over 2,000 square feet. I don't see these homes being over 1,500 square feet. If you're going to build that many, and what borough are you going to build these at? Staten Island? I'm just trying to figure out. New York, again, Manhattan is congested, but when you go out into the 5 boroughs, you know, you go to Brooklyn, the Bronx, there's room to develop. But if you're going to build that many units, I don't see them over 1,500 square feet. I just really don't see that. So again, he's socializing New York to a certain degree, and I wonder who's against it. I don't live in New York, so I'm just giving you guys the information. I'm just looking at the hallmarks and the finance of it all, and how things are going to get paid, how you're not going to raise taxes, cracking down on bad landlords. 1 in 10 renter households reported a lack of adequate heat last winter, which it gets unbearably cold in New York. I'm originally from DC. It gets cold in DC, so I can only imagine going further north. Okay, winter is coming. How cold it gets in New York. 1 in 4 reported mice or rats in their homes. 500,000 live in poor quality housing. Now, if you guys never been to New York, if you've never seen a New York rat, New York rats are literally the size of a cat. They're about this big. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, they will scare the living daylights out of you. Like, New York rats don't play around, and they're not scared. They'll just be walking. And, you know, I was walking down an alley with a couple of buddies when I was in New York, and the rat just ran right past us, like, you know, not even fast, because he was just too darn big. He was a huge rat. I'm like, man, what type of cat is that? Like, man, that's a rat. Oh. And I'm used to mice and rats being about, you know, about that big, fuzzy, fairy, or thin hair. if you see one, no, these rats in New York are unbearably big, by the way. I'm not even exaggerating, okay? I mean, they're unbearably big. Some CEOs stating that they will revolt against Arnie. It's because he is basically destroying capitalism in New York. That's what they're stating. He is destroying capitalism in New York, and he's socializing New York, and they absolutely hate it because all the privatization, all these corporate entities, these businesses who's making hand over fist in New York, he's getting rid of it. And all the minorities are on board, by the way. Okay, all the minorities are on board. If you look at this picture, this gives you a tall tale, okay, of the people. Let me see if I can get rid of this, of the people who are supporting him. This gentleman here looks Indian. You see some fellow Muslims. You see people maybe from the Middle East. They're all looking at him to be the next mayor, and they're absolutely loving it. And this guy has a sign up called rent freeze. So all these private organizations, all these private businesses, he's socializing it and he's subsidizing it, and he's increasing the size of the New York City government. And if you're not a New Yorker, if you don't know the lay of the land, I don't know how essentially other people like, this is a capitalist society. How is he socializing? Donald Trump called him a dictator and a communist. I mean, it's getting wild out here in these New York streets for people who live in New York. But I promise you, a lot of the things that he was promising, people are going to vote for him just to see if he can do it. Just to see if he can do it. They're going to vote for him just to see if he can do it. The only question I have, will New York ever be in debt because of some of the changes that he made? Well, New York is already in debt. Every city around America and every state around America is in debt because the country's in debt. But I wonder, is he going to pull New York out of debt, or is this socialism where he's just going to raise taxes, but the government to take care of the people? And that's why a lot of people don't like a socialist society, because they raise taxes 30-40%, but groceries are cheaper, healthcare is cheaper, childcare is cheaper, free public transportation. So there's benefits, and there's some things going to really hurt your bottom line and your paycheck. Okay, so we're just going to see how that pans out. Let's see if this guy's win, and we'll see how New York will be in the next year or so. That's going to be very interesting, no less. Now, food stamps are a lifeline for millions of Americans. And when that lifeline weakens, the entire community suffer at first from an economic justice lens. This is a power play. This is a power play because President Trump has stepped in and said, we're going to pay 50% of food stamp benefits in November amid the shutdown. And this is a win for Americans because President Trump didn't have to do this. It goes on to state that the Trump administration told a judge that it would use contingency funds to pay at least some SNAP benefits during the ongoing U.S. government shutdown. SNAP provides food stamps to about 42 million Americans. The administration declined the option, U.S. District Court Judge Jack. So there are many Americans on TikTok stating how much they were receiving in SNAP benefits. I've heard up to $4,000 a month in SNAP benefits. So that person is still going to get $2,000 in SNAP benefits. I mean, I don't know people's personal situation. I know how many kids people have, whether it be a single mother or single father. I'm pretty sure that the government system, in some regards, they know how much things cost in their respective cities and states and townships, just the cost of living in that area, and it's just cost for them to receive that amount of money. I don't know. So it's a good thing that in some regards, the courts put pressure on the Trump administration, and Trump say, "Yeah, we're going to use some contingency plans and pay 50% of the SNAP benefits," and that is a really, really good thing in my opinion. So again, it's not going to make them whole, but they won't go starving, especially during this holiday sort of period that we're in. Once Halloween hit, we're now in that new area of, all the holidays are starting to fall on one another. Now, AI is becoming the next frontier of economic and technological dominance. Who controls the infrastructure really controls the future for a lot of communities around the world. This is about access, job, inclusion, or in this case, exclusion. Because remember when I was giving you the story that Amazon was roughly laying off 14,000 to 30,000 employees. This is the reason why. This is the reason why Amazon have laid off all those people and are laying off all those people. It's because they had to free up revenue. They had to free up money to sign a $38 billion open AI, also known as ChatGPT, deal with AWS. And a lot of those functions that people do on computers, AI can do those functions as well. The only thing they will use is AI with automation. They're just going to use AI as automation. They're going to say AI every time you see a letter, every time you see these keywords, every time you see these particular figures or numbers, every time you see this code, do these actions and send this out. And AI is going to do it. It's going to be very basic tasks that they had a human being doing it, tick tack and tick tack. You know, I would say a lot of jobs are repetitive. They just repeat the same action over and over and over again. A lot of you guys know when you guys are at your job, you send out some of the same emails each and every day, each and every week. No longer. AI is going to take care of that. AI with the meshing of automation. There's companies like UiPath. You know, there's companies like UiPath that are strong in automation. And if Amazon can mimic some of the same coding and some of the same software that a UiPath has, and they join it up with OpenAI, there's going to be a lot more people laid off behind this. See, we knew that the wave was coming, and I've been saying this for this past year. We knew that the AI wave was coming, and we have to basically re-engineer ourselves for this oncoming technological way that America is moving. And when we look at all these other countries, when we look at China, China is 70% tech. Like if you go some of their cities, you go to some of these places in China, you think it's all ran down because we is a communist country and China has child labor. No, these places are beautiful in China. They're technological advanced. My family and I, we just came back from Japan early this year. Everything is technologically advanced. Everything. Korea, same way. So in Asia, a lot of their jobs are already dealing in tech. Now that President Trump has put that $100,000 H-1B visa fee, the flow of Indian immigrants to America has decreased rapidly. And so now they're going to look to countries like China. They're going to look to countries like Korea, and they're going to start to build a really technological infrastructure right there in India. And they're going to just keep all the homegrown talent right there in India. America, we have to do the same thing to compete on the world stage. So instead of, there's nothing we can do here, ladies and gentlemen, except get on board. What I mean by get on board, if you're not in a tech field, probably need to take some tech courses, get some certifications. You're just going to have to bite the bullet, bite your bottom lip, do things you might not want to do. You might be in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, and you don't want to go to school anymore. You may have to take a course to remain prevalent, okay, and to remain marketable in this new job market, this AI, automation, robotic heavy. You're just going to have to take some courses, right? You're going to have to be the man that, like, I had these skills and I had these skills. Oh, okay. You make yourself more marketable. Because if not, we're going to be left behind. That's just the truth. This is not a scare tactic. That's just the truth. I mean, we already seeing all the layoffs that are going around America. 14,000 jobs lost in the corporate division. You see it right here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Now, remember that story that the FBI put out that they stopped an alleged terror attack during Halloween? The terror threats are real, believe me, not just around the world, but even here at home. And how we respond to them with surveillance, policy, civil rights, it affects communities all across America. So finally, we got more information that 2 U.S. citizens arrested in alleged ISIS-inspired Halloween plot. So here's one of the gentlemen here. It stated that 2 Michigan men were arrested in Friday's alleged ISIS-inspired Halloween attack, according to records unsealed on Monday. And they had AR-15, they had shotguns, right? And this house got raided, thank God. So again, we have a lot of things going on here in America. I am very happy that the FBI did a great thing by stopping this terrorist attack. I can only imagine the amount of people that these terrorists were going to try to kill. It says that 2 men were arrested on Friday for alleged plotting an ISIS-inspired Halloween attack in Michigan. The men allegedly used the term Pumpkin Day for their plans, according to the complaint. Muhammad Ali and Majid Mahmoud, both U.S. citizens, allegedly bought a shotgun and an AR-15 style rifle and a force reset trigger that allows a shooter to increase the rate of fire in semi-automatic weapon, according to the complaint. There are so many people who know how to make some sort of apparatus to make an AR-15 fully automatic. Because, you know, AR-15 without a bump stock or some sort of alteration, it is pow, 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 fast you can move your trigger finger, so to speak. Now, if not, there's different alterations of AR-15, a bump stock, like they were stating, a force reset trigger, meaning that once you hit it, it automatically resets. So it's almost like it's an automatic machine gun. Again, it doesn't matter. As long as you sell these military style weapons, people will figure out how to make them fully automatic. Why do they need a fully automatic weapon? Not I'm talking about Americans in general, not these terrorists who are U.S. citizens, by the way, not these domestic terrorists. No. Why do American citizens need AR-15? Please don't say for hunting. Now, if you say for sport, there's a lot of rifles, you know, bow action, semi-automatic rifles, shotguns that we can do for sport. But AR-15, they're just an M4 modified, really. They're just an M4 modified because M4 is a fully automatic. So they could be in the military and look how the M4 was created and made and make something similar. And now they have an automatic rifle right here in the United States, in the streets. I only see harm coming to American citizens when people are modifying AR-15, which are just modified M4s. Just cut off barrels of an M16. I know. Leave your guns alone. Leave your guns alone. Wow. Have a great day.